All right, how about I just say this? This is Three Brothers Talking, episode 69. We have almost made it to 70. I guess that's what 69 means, is that it's almost 70. And we still have not figured out an official start to the podcast. But the one thing that we normally do every episode, although I can't say we do it absolutely every episode because sometimes we forget, is that we say who we are. So I'm David.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremy. That was a dramatic pause for a second.
I was worried.
Jeremy always pauses.
I was worried that you were actually not going to do it.
I'm Jeremy. I didn't do a radio thing.
Yeah.
I just did my name.
This is episode 69, guys. We made it this far. So
yeah.
We're professionals now, I think. When do you become professional podcasters?
I feel like we're really hitting our stride.
It took us almost 70 episodes, but I feel like we're really
hitting you guys.
If this beginning is any indication, we're obviously at peak efficiency.
We're at peak pod.
See,
now.
It's been a little while since we recorded.
Yeah.
Because we kind of ripped off 2 in a row and then had some travel come into play, had some spouses travel, and here we are recording episode 69 here. And I'll tell you when we become professionals. And it's when you get an email from a podcast charting app that tells you like where you're ranking, like when they just start sending them to you and everything. One thing I did notice checking out the charts, guys. Now hold on to this because
checking out the
this might freak you out. But for like a solid day, somehow we were the 38th best religious podcast in Spain.
Man,
whoa.
International. Since I probably can't even go to Spain anymore. Probably blocked.
We can't travel there, but our podcast can travel there.
No, because of all the people who want flock to us because we're so well known, not for any other reason.
Let's go on a tour.
I was gonna go see things.
I guess I was planning on going to Spain. Yet we should go do a tour of Spain now.
I think we could support a tour.
First live
we could
event.
do a podcast tour of Spain.
So I should have started this episode by saying hola, bienvenidos,
yeah, for our
bienvenidos a la.
We could do a Spanish episode. We always think
Tres hermanos hablado. That was.
All right, everyone open up Google Translate, type in everything you want to say.
I mean,
and then read it.
I'm pretty sure, for the record, all the Spanish words I just said were, 1, pronounced horribly, but 2, I'm pretty sure I got the words right, even if like the tenses and the conjugation wasn't right, because that's the part that's gone from my
I
Spanish
said Los
learning.
Niños today in a sentence, so I'm basically Spanish.
Well, that's why we were ranking so high in Spain.
That's why.
Obviously.
It was like my body. I knew. Could feel it. My
Our
bones.
first live event, we can set it up for Spain. How about that?
Go to Madrid, buddy.
Spring 2022. So that was kind of random. Anyway, in more real talk that actually matters, over the last I think the last 4 weeks, our audience legitimately doubled in about 4 weeks. And that, for the record, that doesn't mean we went from 4 people to 8 people. The audience actually picked up a couple. I would say it was a solid 200 to 300 people. Subscriber count just jumped up, and I don't really know why. Do you guys know why?
I downloaded it a lot of times.
I spammed a whole bunch of my friends.
I created a bot to do it.
Jeremy bought 16 laptop computers and 14 phones and subscribed them all.
Can I write that off, Andrew? You're a tax professional.
Yep, that's good. We're good.
It's right off.
Yep.
It's unrealized capital gain right there, or loss, whatever you're going to call it.
Capital loss. Is that a new thing?
You did it, so that would by definition be realized. But just so you know,
I realized it.
Yeah.
And definitions
in
and
reality, I think that I think a big reason for that is that I know some people that recently shared the podcast with friends and everything. So please do actually share it. Wouldn't it be awesome if our audience doubled again in another 4 weeks?
What I wrote it on every table when I was in Louisville. I put a note that said listen to 3BT.
You printed off business cards.
I should have done that, actually.
Just handed them out.
Just handing them out.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I was like, obviously we go about this super casually, but yeah, like if it is useful or if hopefully it's encouragement to you and you can share it easily to somebody else who might, it might enjoy it, might be useful.
Do we get serious about it now that we have actually seen growth, or do we just keep doing what we're doing? That's the
I think we
question.
just keep doing what we're doing.
I feel like
we don't want to sell
whenever
out.
you're doing really well, you don't want to
stay
sell out.
humble. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm just wearing my white t-shirt,
Why? Because
So,
you're
I'm just the same guy. I'm the same guy I
cashmere
was
robe
before
wasn't
this.
working.
Well, it was in the wash,
Oh, okay.
but
So
my butler's washing it as we speak.
there we go. Ways to share the episodes or the podcast would be however you like to share them. Text them to friends. We're not really that
Business
active
cards.
on any social media except maybe Instagram and maybe Facebook, because Instagram automatically pushes to Facebook. So
Because that's easy.
2 birds, 1 stone. But just send it around to people that you might like it.
Or people that don't like it.
Or
That's
people
fine.
that might not like it. Who cares? If they're willing to listen once,
Maybe it
that's fine.
sparks a conversation for you to have with someone else.
That's right. And maybe we can have an uncomfortable conversation on your behalf because of something that we talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, hey, these guys did it somewhat decently.
Like because of our
So-
last episode, you're at a funeral and somebody says, I know that my loved one is an angel watching over me now.
And you
can
didn't want to
just
say
send them our
anything.
episodes.
Yeah, say here afterward. Don't do it
And,
right
like,
then, but like send
it's
them
a
an
way
email
to subtly
after.
correct them because you don't have to do it. We do it for you.
We do it for you. We don't necessarily do it
Here's
well.
an exhortation for you.
Yeah.
I was enjoy.
Guys, it is October 27th that we're recording this. And
It
that
is.
date is significant because this means that we're on like the precipice of beginning what I understand to be the Appelt Birthday Gauntlet that we are
Yep.
about to run.
Yeah, do you kick off that technically?
Technically, I kicked it off
Yeah.
almost 28 years
Yeah.
ago.
You're that old now?
I did.
Man.
I actually had a friend ask me if I was turning 30. They got really excited. I told them my
You
birthday
have a
was
kid
coming
now,
up.
so
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You have a kid, you turn 30. That's the rules.
you're basically automatically 30.
But my friend just reacted like, "Oh, you're turning 30, right?" And I was like, "No, I'm not."
Still got a couple. You got 2 years. You're good.
I appreciate
Yeah.
how
2
they were
strong years.
sincerely excited for me, though, which I appreciated. And
So yeah,
this
they will be
birthday gauntlet,
28. Yeah.
yeah, I'll be 28, and then what is it, Andrew? Is it
You grow
2
a
days?
beard.
2 days after my birthday is Lincoln's. Is that right?
Well, his is the first. Yeah.
2 or 3 days technically, I guess.
3 days. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I was like, you got
then-
31 days, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then how
So-
many?
Yeah.
How many days until is it our nephew or is it Micah's birthday is next?
Liam's next.
Okay.
Yeah. Liam's is like the 6th or
Yes.
7th.
We
Yeah.
were potentially exposing ourselves for not having every date memorized.
Yeah, we shouldn't do
We'd
all
have-
this stuff
yeah,
now
we'd have
because
to
we could have
check.
problems.
But
Well,
anyway,
we've
then-
got my son, we've got our nephew, we've got Jeremy's son, we've
Micah,
got
my birthday's on the front end of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
David's on the front end.
I mean, if you want to count Ricky and Alyssa,
And then
because
cousins.
I'll do stuff
Yeah.
for Ricky. They're both November.
But
And
basically,
Grammy and Pop Up are in November.
yeah, our grandparents are in there. So basically, our family
Thanksgiving.
has, and then you get into Thanksgiving. So for reference, Lincoln and Micah are how many days apart? 18, right?
Mhm.
2 weeks.
Like
Yeah, 3
18
weeks.
days apart, and there's another birthday between them. There's another grandchild's
Yeah.
birthday within 18 days. And so our family has, Rachel and I were looking at our calendar because I share a birthday with
It's
Rachel's
like
sister.
every week.
We have a birthday party absolutely every weekend, 4 weeks in a row. There's a birthday party
Yep. All
without
the way up until
We
Thanksgiving.
get
Yeah.
a lot of cake.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
cake. There's a lot of
By the way,
craziness.
Andrew, what kind of cake is Lincoln having for his birthday?
I honestly have no idea.
Micah is very adamant he has a Spider-Man cake coming, and
I
he
think
asked
I
me
mean
what kind of cake Lincoln likes. And I was like, I'm like, he wants a Lightning McQueen cake. And he goes, ooh, that sounds good. So whatever
I think it'll
Flavor
be
the cake is
Yeah.
whatever type of cake it is. That's what
Yeah.
I've learned from my 2-year-old.
Well,
Okay.
Lincoln, we're doing PJ Masks theme because that's what he's
that's probably
into
a Catholic
currently. So
cake.
I think it'll be in that realm. But I think she had somebody make it this time. I don't know.
Well, it sounds delicious.
I have a quick question, which is why did we decide to do this as a family? Why was this,
We did not consult anyone.
No.
I mean, I did not have a conference call
Yeah.
and say, when are we going to have babies? Oh, wait,
And here we are,
too late.
all on top of each
I
other.
mean, Andrew and I found out basically pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
We went to your house and told you, and you told us the same night, like, oh, you too.
Yep.
That was an awkward moment.
guys
Yeah, I
too,
remember
huh?
that.
You guys
Yeah.
got it as well.
That's exactly what they said. Say,
You guys
oh, you guys
got
caught
it?
that. You just got that baby thing.
You
Huh?
caught the bug.
The baby
Exactly.
bug.
Here's another
That'd be a whole
question.
other
You guys are
podcast.
planning for Lincoln and Micah. You know, it's not your first birthday party anymore, and it's not your 1st
Mm-mm.
birthday party for your first kid anymore. So
It's
what's the
third birthday party for the second kid?
third birthday party for the first kid, Andrew?
Or the first kid,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. But we have two, so we've had a bunch.
So here's the question: what's the difference between third birthday party for the first kid when you got another kid versus that first birthday for the first kid?
You handle this one.
I mean,
My wife has done My
Yeah.
wife does a fantastic job planning all of them.
Jeremy has
Yeah,
I'm just
Jeremy
there
has
to
a party
assist.
planning wife for sure.
I am.
She's great at it.
Yeah.
I am
She can do
very-
it and knock it out.
I'd
So
say we're
I don't
both-
want to inhibit her.
We're both
I just get
very
in the way.
laissez-faire with that. With
Andrew,
the planning.
Andrew, we're not big in France. We're big in Spain.
No, I
But,
mean,
like I'm very hands off with that until it comes to like the actual party day where stuff, then
Yeah,
she just
needs
tells me
done.
what needs to get done and I just go do it.
well, I wasn't asking that
That's how I
question
roll.
about you guys. Like, I know how hands free you guys are. I'm asking
Yeah.
about
We basically don't even have
the
hands.
vibe of the home. Prepare, I'm picturing the
Oh.
first birthday
it's pretty
vibe
chill.
is like pressure packed.
It's much more chill.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty chill.
Like, well, especially because we had like, I don't know. Yeah, it's way chiller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine the pressure's off a little bit.
Just wait, man. Wait for like the fifth kid.
I don't even think we have our full like menu of what we're feeding people yet
Look,
figured
there's
out.
always
so,
pizza.
Who knows?
Pizza
Yeah.
always works.
Yep. Might
As
be-
long as
Spider-Man cake.
Domino's delivers, you're
No,
fine.
I know we got fried chicken ordered, but besides
Well,
that,
then you know what it is, Andrew.
Yeah.
You know what dinner is.
Well,
If it's
like,
fried chicken.
whatever else we want, like just a plate of chicken.
I don't know what it is, but we have chicken
We do
on
have
order.
the food picked
Yeah.
out, but I don't know what we're gonna feed people.
No, I'm saying beyond chicken, like, or we do it, what else does she want to do?
Okay, well, either way, I was just curious about that because Rachel and I are Haddon is
You better start planning his first birthday
between
now.
4 and
That's what
5
I'm
months.
saying.
Well, that's kind of the vibe these days, isn't it? Like social
Get it locked
media
down.
is like get the smash cake ready. Oh, and
social media is
You
the
better have a
worst.
smash cake, and you better get pictures of the kid smashing the cake, and you
Better get
also
the good
better have a theme, and it better, it's just Rachel and I are just less theme people, I guess we've discovered, but we'll see.
You have a Spider-Man theme. We'll sell you all the Spider-Man theme stuff
Well, what
for
I've learned-
the first birthday if you want.
What I've learned is that talk is cheap until your kid's birthday actually comes around, right? And then it's like, oh, I might be doing the same thing. I might also be having a PJ Masks party. We'll see.
They're on the way to save the day. I heard that.
You gotta get a theme. That's the key.
Gotta have a
Everything
theme.
needs a theme.
That's right. It's best if you just make your whole life have a theme for social media's sake, because that way you have
That's
something
true.
to hashtag on Instagram, and people really
Every
can
morning
know.
you can have a nice motivational
Yeah,
speech.
people can know what your brand is. Like, if there's
Yeah.
anything that's important about you, it's that people would know your personal brand as soon as they click on your Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, David, are we sponsored yet for the podcast? Since we're famous in Spain, has any Spanish companies reached out yet?
How crazy would that be if, like, the first
Real Madrid isn't calling us to come to a match.
No, I didn't get a call.
Sing the
I didn't
national
get a
anthem.
call from I don't even know what a Spanish company is. I was gonna pick up like a car company. I don't even know.
It's probably like Real something.
Anybody
Just
Spanish? I don't know.
Forza. I don't know.
Forza. That's a video game, but okay.
Isn't El Santander is like the big Spanish bank? Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I
There you
believe
go.
you.
The international accountants
Yeah.
and those things.
I'm down for International Bank to sponsor us. That'd be fine. Let's get a whole studio set up then. One top. Well, we kind of have one topic that's two topics tonight. So, getting into
Buckle up.
what matters. Following up on episode 67, which was the episode about Ed Litton. president of the SBC. Just a quick follow-up, because I think it was actually shortly after that episode dropped. If you don't remember, you can listen to that episode. He plagiarized a bunch of sermons, and that's a big deal. There's an encapsulation of episode 67. But anyway, shortly after that, he was doing an interview at either Southeastern or Southwestern Seminary.
I think it was Southeastern. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they basically asked him about that. And it was like in a chapel, I think, in one of their chapel services.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed Litton's response, part of his response when asked about the plagiarism, do you guys remember what it was?
I have too good of a memory.
His quote was basically, I remember things too well.
Yeah.
Which was hilarious given he had a manuscript in front of him.
Yeah,
when he
that's
preached
pretty
it,
rich for somebody saying that he was reading it, But yeah, he was kind of saying,
I remember really well when I read it.
Yeah, he was saying that he said he was fasting. One of his responses from this whole thing, his responses is part of his repentance, you might say, or his plan to not do it again, was that he was going to fast from listening to sermons because he didn't realize how well he remembered things, and he would just unknowingly incorporate somebody else's thoughts. That yikes. Like, that is just not a response of somebody who's really owning what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, that doesn't, for example, and I again, this episode might sound like we're really crucifying the guy, but it goes along with everything we said in the last episode about it, which was how being corrected on things is for your good. And our heart behind bringing these things up is that he would just like we talked about with Mark Driscoll, like what they needed is somebody to not be afraid of them being powerful and important. They needed somebody to correct them and lovingly tell them the truth, right? Like, that's what you need. And when we're tempted to hide stuff, we need somebody who comes in and actually says, no, what's best for you right now is to own the mistakes, own the sin, apologize for it, and you actually be free from it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
so it's with that heart that we say everything else we're about to say right now. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
It just would have been, I wonder it would have been like a what if question if everything just would have, if the minute this came out, which getting another topic is nuts that this didn't come out sooner, quite honestly. And it took little to no research or time for this to leak after he became the president, like within the next day this started.
Yeah, there might be, yeah.
So what if he would have just, humbled himself, said, yes, I did this thing. Let's move on and unify around repentance and what Christ can do, and then just be done with it.
And say, hold me to a high standard. I'm not going to do this again.
Yeah. And step down from your, say, I'm stepping down from my role as a preacher. I'm going to still be the president of the SBC, own it, since they're not mutually exclusive things. Yeah. And just move on. Granted, I think he should have done for both things, but at a minimum, one of the things that actually had the integrity part as part of the qualifications.
Well, and even
what would have happened?
Even a temporarily self-suspension, even saying I'm not going to preach in my church for 4 months, and when I come back from that, I promise you I'm going to be a new man. And you can scrutinize everything I ever preach again, and I promise you this won't happen again. Even that would be better than sweeping things under the rug. I guess. Because
if you would have went at it with the heart of true repentance and, taking the time to truly flesh out how he got to that point, then it's all right, why not just go about it as I'm going to possibly step away for a bit. And I hope that I come back fully reformed and that, Christ can work in me, and that the way I preach is,
Yeah.
I can be held to that higher standard coming out the other end. And God can work on me and how I form sermons and how, my process and all that, if I take the time to truly, flesh that out.
Yeah. And it feels like there's more just kind of maneuvering and like just trying to not own it still going on. Like, if you remember things well, if your excuse is like you have a photographic memory, then you also tend to remember where you heard things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
well, because you didn't say it.
Yeah, like you tend to know that you didn't say it. If you really have a great memory, it's a weird kind of great memory that remembers things but forgets that you didn't originally think of them, I guess. But it's just like if that was the response, even if the response was, "Hey guys, I'm just going to own it and say that I did this and I'm not going to do it again, but I'm not going to take time off. I'm not going to do anything like that." I would have disagreements maybe because I would probably want some sort of at least time out to be taken. But I would still have respect, a lot more respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if, all right, because then it's like, all right, you and I disagree about what the consequences should be, but you're at least recognizing this was wrong and I'm sorry. So I'm sad for that, for the whole convention, because I feel like it's a loss of respectability. And it's not going to unify. It's not going to unify the convention because this is something, because the way that it's been handled has made it something to fight about and continue to fight about and be mad about. Whereas even if you just, like I said, I think that if you owned it, you could own it and replace him. You could own it and not penalize him at all. But either of those things probably would have actually put it to bed and probably would have given, I don't know, more of a chance for unity of the whole convention, right? Like you're not going to completely pacify everybody and get everybody on the same team just by saying, "Whoops, my bad."
Mm-hmm.
But you have a better chance of getting people unified once you at least own it, even if you don't accept a penalty. Do you guys get what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me sad because there is, I mean, we're going to go in and talk about more Southern Baptist stuff here, but the big question that we're about to jump into is Christians suing Christians. In a little segment that's, maybe this will be a recurring segment now, which is the 3BT on the SBC. Do we need like a sound effect?
I hope it's not a recurring segment.
We could do like a drop for that. Yeah.
Little drop. Right now the drop would be like a car crash sounds or like a dude actually accidentally stepping in like
falling down the stairs
or stepping in some gum and then just going, "Oh man, not again." Like that would be.
I picture Tommy Boy running into the fence.
We do the breaking glass from the like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Like the Stone Cold Steve Austin thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be kind of fun.
Now, speaking of stone.
Hey, there we go.
There you go. Segue.
We're professionals.
The potential name for the episode that I thought of, ready for this, was Sticks and Stones, more on the SBC.
Every day we rustling.
Every day I'm rustling.
That works on that's on multi levels, yeah.
Man, so you're a marketing genius.
Well, you were the one with that. Speaking of stones. So, all right, here's where we punch back in a different direction. Still lovingly, but we punch back in a different direction. We're going to talk about another thing that got leaked at a opportune time, or misopportune. That's not a word.
I'd say misopportune.
Like it depends on who you are.
Who's opportune?
What would the opposite of opportune be? Somebody advantageous? No, that would be the same thing.
I guess opportune, because it says misopportune is the opposite of opportune.
But I don't think misopportune is a word. Anyway.
I don't know.
Anyway, we're losing this new audience by the second.
Yeah.
So, which is misopportune, some might say. So, Mike Stone. I'll give a quick recap. Mike Stone is a pastor, also in the SBC, in Texas, maybe
I think so.
Georgia.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he was running for president, like Ed Litton was, and right before the election, might have been a few weeks before the convention, or even sooner. These emails get.
It was like 48 hours before.
It was,
I thought.
okay,
It was within.
yeah, it was really close.
I think you're right. Actually,
I think it was really close.
Yeah.
It was close enough that everybody was gearing up for the convention.
Yeah. So it's still an outrage.
Yes. So these emails leak that were emails from Russell Moore, who at that time was employed in the SBC, or maybe he had just quit. I think he had freshly quit.
He had just quit. It was his.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was part of him leaving.
He had quit, and then they were between him and the trustees, and also between him and JD Greer, who you recognize that name from being the past president of the SBC, and also the guy who
wrote Ed Litton's sermon.
Look at that tie-in.
For lack of a better phrase.
He was so ready with that. Yeah.
I
was ready for it.
So, in these emails, we're not going to speculate about either of these two things. One, we're not going to speculate about the fact that Ed Litton's plagiarism sermons got leaked, quote unquote, leaked or discovered right after he was elected. Okay? We're not going to speculate on that. There could be some it's glad that it was found out, but it could be some bad actors that timed the release of that, right?
For sure, yeah.
We're also not going to speculate on the fact that these emails were leaked. That we're not going to speculate on the fact that Russell Moore, for the most part, seems to like Ed Litton as opposed to the other candidates, and that these emails hurt Mike Stone more than any other candidate.
Well, he named Mike Stone explicitly out of a group of 100 of other people.
And the fact that these were released right before the election.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to speculate on that because we don't know. We can't know for sure what all that timing is. Okay. Anyway, the timing makes you feel like it's political in some respect, right? Anyway, these emails were about the fact, basically, that Russell Moore was saying he had to resign because over the time that he was there, he had seen the executive committee, the trustees, people in the SBC, the higher ups, stonewalling basically investigations into sexual abuse and into situations like that. About how he was like, I can't do it anymore. And in his email with JD Greer, I believe he said, like, you and I both know how these conversations have happened. He was alleging in these emails that SBC higher-ups, including Mike Stone by name, had heard about sexual abuse and maybe covered it up, or at the very best, they had just not pursued potential issues.
Justice.
Yeah. So that's kind of what the content of these emails were. Now, this is right before the election. And then now fast forward, 8 months later?
Yeah.
7 months later?
Is it that long ago?
I think so.
Oh my
Isn't it
gosh.
in May or June? I feel like it was around the time.
I want to say June.
I feel like it was around the time
You're
Haddon
right.
was
It's been
born.
6 months.
So fast forward, and now Mike Stone is suing Russell Moore for defamation and emotional duress as a result of all this stuff. And he's suing him, I believe, for $750,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number I heard.
Such a big number. So yeah, here we are, guys. Seems like things are going well, right?
Yeah, that was like the claim is that obviously, basically, Stone's character has been obviously called into question, and so this will drastically affect his future earnings, and it's a defamation claim and all that. So that's how he got to like, okay, you're basically burying me, and so that's why he's going after that.
Yeah.
Well, especially as a pastor in charge of shepherding people and counseling people.
And ultimately kind of in charge of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And potentially
it's a big
abused
deal
people.
to say that about someone. I think the number is ridiculous. But I think our issue is also the fact that it should even go to court, which we're not the first people at this point, but we might be, the most fun to talk about this, I guess.
So, yeah, should Christians sue each other? No. And we'll talk about that more in a second. And I don't know. We can dig into that now. I don't know. Whenever we talk about this now, what's your guys' reaction to all this going on?
I don't like it.
Yeah. It seemed like the first reaction is just like, oh, there's basically more drama in the SBC, because it seems like there's been just heaps and heaps, and it seems like it's like our general, just the political atmosphere has basically infiltrated, possibly, and definitely spoke through a lot of these election cycles, these past few years, for all these types of things to happen. Like we said, like a lot of these seemingly are very fortuitously timed, and and then
goodness, all the leak stuff, just that leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, and
anyway.
it's like we're basically playing politics, just like our general elections, just like other things, and in this case, I would say the reaction to sue and seek these damages monetarily and all that is also something that follows the worldly standard and the political standard in general, and that's why generally, that's my first thought, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess from my first thought, you have the stance that he said it doesn't promote unity. Granted, Russell Moore is no longer affiliated with the SBC at all anymore. Like, now that he's with Christianity Today as their theologian.
And he's in a Presbyterian church, I believe.
He's in a Presbyterian church, and he's affiliated very closely now with Beth Moore, who's no longer part of the SBC, because she wants to be a pastor.
Yeah.
And so all that said, it's like him leaving in the way he left and how he left, and then the leak thing, it's like, oh, this was not good.
Yeah.
And then now with this, it's like, okay, now I guess, for example, not even SBC unity, but from a church unity standpoint, and just going back to how Scripture would have us try to have these conversations. It just seems wrong, especially from whether you like them or not, people who are leaders in the community that we are affiliated with.
Yeah.
Whether I agree, which I don't, with a lot of Russell Moore said, and even some stuff Mike Stone is. But it's not the way it should be handled. And that's and it hurts the faith more than anything else. And that's why
we're not going down the path of whatever happened. Like we do not have we don't know what is true as far as what took place over the years from SBC leadership and all that. So these claims could be completely unfounded, and Stone could have, he could have defamation claims, or the claims could be founded, and Moore could be telling the truth as well. But that's why there's a succinct way that the Bible should speak into this, and how we deal with this, and not just taking the SBC into the civil courts along with the world. That
and after some of the stuff that might happen in SBC coming forward, after some of the executive committee things, it might not be the last time. Yeah. I guess I would hope for a better way that this gets resolved, for precedent on how we could go moving forward, which most likely will happen, things come to light.
You're talking about it should not become the thing that happens in the SBC that we just take it to the courts. That's not a good,
right? Because especially with the looming executive committee potentially getting rid of some of the investigations that are probably happening. it could very
they're
well be
happening.
this is going to be the thread that breaks everything, opens the dam and everything.
They're happening
because this is the precedent
the
for
executive. There are current investigations, just so everybody knows. There's a current third-party self-funded investigation by the SBC into itself to discover potential issues of sexual abuse. Right now, that was chosen. The member churches decided to voted to have that investigation, which is good. And
yes,
the executive committee actually immediately funded the investigation above and beyond the estimate of the cost for that investigation. So that is happening, and that's very good. It's a good sign that we voted to have it, and it's a good sign that the executive committee said, no, we're not going to skimp on the money, make it happen and make it good. There's a whole lot going in with, there's other parts of that discussion right now that I don't know that we want to get into right now.
No, because
it's really complicated.
I think the one thing though, if we had
I was gonna say, like, the thing that stuck out, I was so I think we probably all read, but Doug Wilson had a good article talking about this, and like basically like your point there, like the SBC has handled a lot of these by third-party investigations and stuff in other avenues. And the quote from Doug Wilson, which I thought was really good, was like, so basically the view of this is like, we Baptists can handle all the nickel and dime stuff, but if it gets really big involving more than one congregation, we have to take it to the unbelievers, and we have to take it to the we have to take it to the courts. Like,
let's not do that.
Like that is not a good solution when you look at.
We should be able to use godly wisdom to have good solutions for this as Christians.
Yes. Yeah. Let me read. It's like, sometimes you just sit there and you're like, oh, I wish we had a verse for this. So let me read the verses that we have for this. Because you might,
explicitly.
Yeah, based on everything that's going on, you might think, oh, this must be a wisdom issue, right? Well, let's read this. When one of you has a grievance against another, does he dare? I love that language. Does he dare go to law before the unrighteous instead of the saints? Or do you not know that the saints will judge the world? And if the world is to be judged by you, are you incompetent to try trivial cases? Do you not know that we are to judge angels? How much more then matters pertaining to this life? So if you have such cases, why do you lay them before those who have no standing in the church? I say this to your shame. Paul is like not mincing words. I love it.
Yeah.
Can it be that there is no one among you wise enough to settle a dispute between brothers? But brother goes to law against a brother, and that before unbelievers? To have lawsuits at all with one another is already a defeat for you. Why not rather suffer wrong? Why not rather be defrauded? But you yourselves wrong and defraud, even your own brothers.
And that's
1 Corinthians 6.
Yeah, 1 Corinthians 6, yeah.
Pretty explicit.
I think it kind of tells you what to do and what not to do.
Well, it kind of gives responses to all the parties concerned in all this, doesn't it? Like, here's an uncomfortable one. And if we believe the Bible, and if we want to say that, like here in the SBC, we're all members of an SBC church. I'm a pastor in an SBC church. Like, in the future, I plan on probably planting with the SBC at some level. Like, if our whole thing is the gospel and the word of God, and that's enough, if that's like our thing as Baptists,
biblical authority,
then we need to handle that even when it hurts us, and even when it's uncomfortable for us. So, like, let me start it off with like Mike Stone. Here's a verse for you. Why not rather be defrauded?
Yeah.
I know that stinks, because if this is totally not true, if none of this is true, then it is a horrible thing to have said about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no one's saying it isn't.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you can't. I don't think the apostle is saying like, don't fight for the truth. Don't like somebody lies about you, just take it and have your reputation thrown out there. But he does seem to be saying that if it comes to going all the way to the courts, it'd be better to stay home.
Yeah.
That's uncomfortable. But do you trust God enough when you're wronged, and this is a larger point, so we need to learn lessons about this as Christians as a whole, not just when we want to sue somebody. When we as Christians, do we trust God enough that even when we're wronged, even when we are mistreated, we trust him enough to obey his word and trust that our future earnings haven't been compromised, or that God will take care of us, that God will vindicate us in the end, or that we don't even need to be vindicated before men sometimes, right?
Maybe, yeah, God's plan is just different,
which will stink, like especially with accusations like this, because these are, I mean, we're talking about sexual abuse, and like
they're big issues.
And so I am down with like fighting for the truth, being public about, like, if you didn't do it, then by all means be adamant that you didn't do it, because it's horrible.
Well, you can have a public statement saying this is not true.
And you can fight against it, and you should try to take him. You should try to take him to you should try to take him to a Christian mediation thing, whether it's an actual legitimate like Christian mediation group, or if it's like I think I saw something maybe in Doug's article about like each of them picking councils of men to hear the cases and like stuff like that. Like,
because obviously, like, it was like Doug's article, he pointed to the fact that it's like, oh, Stone might think, I have to go this route because obviously Moore is originally from Tennessee, I think. So like they're not in the same congregation. And so, they're not super connected or close. But he's like, even at that, like, there are Christian arbitration groups that you could seek out. And there's also, you could go down the route of, you guys coming to the table and being able to go amongst, godly, wise men. And, you could appoint a certain council to mediate this. And it could be agreed upon by both you and Moore. And you could, this could be basically a third party thing that you guys handle.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Jeremy, did you have something to say? Okay.
Nope. You're
all
good.
Right. So, like the other, like, I mean, I think it's pretty explicit, like why Christians shouldn't be suing each other, because God says, rather, that it's a shame before the world around us, that it demonstrates to them that we don't really believe in the truth, or that we don't know the truth, that it's embarrassing. And that in the end, we're supposed to be the ones judging angels themselves. So why can't we handle these things like men, frankly, at this time? And I know that gets really messy, because it'd be really easy if they were part of the same church, because you could just say, well, take it to the elders of that church.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that would be nice and neat. But they're just, both of them ought to be trying to get to not going to court, right?
Yeah.
Both.
Well, and
both
if the goal is unity, I guess, then that is correct. If it's not unity, then this is the route to go. If it's also I guess that's where the whole thing lies. Like we had talked, one thing pointed out was, what's the end goal of this? If the end goal is to show that we are believers unified by one gospel, then we should fight to be unified, especially in front of unbelievers, that we had a disagreement and now we can both come and repent if there is sin on either side, to come to repentance, because that should be done in front of unbelievers and everything else, like to show the repentance that we have in our hearts, and let the God who forgives and is just to be seen as forgiving and just and loving. And that could still heal any relationship, even two people at odds with each other, for the tune of $750,000.
Yeah, like, and this goes back to even how it all started. Like, this started with the leaked emails that leaked as Russell Moore was leaving his job and everything. And this started with, I would say, this maybe is an example of the snowballing of sin, because I would say if Russell Moore really knew about abuse or like, accusations of abuse that were worthy of being looked into at all. If he knew about that and he was able to stomach it until he left, and then he wrote an email
for a year
or whatever, like
it was multiple
you need
years.
to own up.
He was on
You
staff.
ought to own up to the fact that you should have done more while you were still in that post.
Right.
And you
were complicit in
and
that.
Either you were honest about it and you fought about it, and you like, maybe you did bring it up to superiors and they stonewalled you. Well, I don't know. Like in my book, you, as a matter of justice, you make a decision in that moment that you're going to go down with the ship. Like, all right, well then I'm going to get fired because I'm going to keep on pushing this until they fire me. Because, and maybe that did happen. Like, again, we don't know. Maybe they asked him to resign because of all this. I don't know all that. But, in my book, like, if I'm in his position, I hear about these things, I bring it up to a superior, they stonewall me, then the response ought to be, well, too bad. I'm going to keep on bringing this up to higher and higher up people.
Yeah.
And if I need to, I'll go public on you until you fire me. Like, because this is a problem that must be fixed.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then you're more committed to your job than to the victims. And so that avoiding uncomfortable justice there, perhaps, maybe has, I don't know, led us in a way to where we are now. But all along the way, we need, like, the solution to all of it is to actually just obey what the scriptures say.
Yeah.
Because the easy response is like, well, if you don't go to the courts, then how will you know that, like, without the law being involved, people will actually be honest and own up to sin and repent and undergo investigation? And the answer to that is like, well, this is supposed to be between believers. And so, no, we can't.
There should be a level.
We can't presume that.
Integrity.
You're right. I can't presume that about my mailman who doesn't know Christ, but I should be able to presume about guys that are prominent pastors and leaders in a convention. So I'm like, if we can't trust them to hash things out honestly and to be subject to a godly review of the word of God,
and to want the truth to come out,
and to want it to come out, exactly. Not to just fight about it in court, but actually want the truth to come out.
Mm-hmm. No, that's what I was like. The one thing, and this was a great, I quoted it from Wilson's article. And this is what's sad as far as all this drama with the SBC, I think, that we've kind of analyzed and that's come out recently, is I was quoting him saying that the screaming need for our next generation in the church is going to be the task of keeping the federal government out of the affairs of the church. And it seems if you want them to stay out, we really should think twice about inviting them in.
Yeah. I thought that was spot on, especially in the climate we live in today.
So, like, in this matter, you are prominent SBC leaders of the convention, and yet we are inviting unbelievers and government structures to speak into the matters that evidently we cannot handle.
Well, into Christian affairs and how we should be doing things, like from the standpoint of everything, we are asking the federal government or the courts or whatever to arbitrate a case that we should be able to honestly handle. Yeah. Without them being able to sit there and say, okay, because basically like you said earlier, we are asking them, someone who doesn't know the truth, what truth is in a given circumstance. So then why can they not then also arbitrate other things down the line?
And that's,
I guess if you defer in one case, you're deferring in other cases as well.
What's sad is like we should, which he talks about this too in his article, but like we should not be embarrassed to have to police our own ranks in Christianity. Like we should not, regardless, like sin occurs no matter if you're a prominent leader or, every other member, like sin occurs in the church. every single day in church bodies and specific congregations and outside of a convention at whole. So like there's specific ways that the Bible tells us to deal with other believers. And so do we trust the biblical authority to be able to actually walk that out and have merit in our lives? Or do we just call in unbelievers to deal with the mess just along with the rest of the world?
Yeah. Well, this whole thing just makes me think like how well, and we don't know the answer to these questions. I don't know if Mike Stone maybe he tried to handle things privately and didn't work. And then this is, I don't know. I would doubt it. I could be wrong, but just based off the pattern, doesn't seem like that happened probably. But just you go back to how Christians are supposed to handle conflict and how, I mean, Jesus himself lays it out for us, right? And we need to trust that God will work through those means that he's ordained. Like he gave us those means. He said, this is how you do it. And we need to, when we have a conflict, we need to not just go run and put it out there for the world to see. The Bible tells us not to do that. It tells us to go right back to the person. And then, it says to keep it within the church, like at all costs, not as a means of covering it up. Like it's not if someone were abused, the response isn't to keep it in the church so that nobody has to face consequences or anything like that. That's not what it is. That's the wrong response. Consequences need to be had for, abuse, serious consequences, as the Bible lays out.
Well, yeah, it all comes down to keeping it in the church keeps it on biblical authority.
Yes.
And that's the whole goal.
So we're talking about this matter of, neither of these guys are like in that role, but we're asking this question of like, hey, did one of you lie about the other is basically what you're asking. Like, that's the question.
Yeah.
And that's a question that the church can and should and needs to police inside of itself to show the world the fact that like, hey, we do know what the truth is and we can stand on it and we can judge by it. It's just, Paul's words, like, can it be that there's no one wise enough among you to settle this dispute?
Yeah.
And I just come away from this whole thing sad and thinking, how in the world, like, is this the best way to do it?
Yep.
It's not, I just don't think it's going to turn out well. I don't know. I don't know if in one respect, maybe it'll just get dropped in the end. In one respect, it might get just settled. Like, I don't know. But
I don't know.
It was like you hope that regardless that Christ or that God can still redeem the situation as a whole. And everybody both parties here should want the truth to come out. If they're truly godly men, and we can trust them. So you hope that Christ can work through whatever means, but it doesn't look great from the external perspective.
I don't know. I just think that so much of it just comes down to the fact that in little things and in the small things, you have to not think of yourself as more important than Scripture. And you have to be very careful about whether or not you're making little exceptions to obedience, because a situation, it might be, you can see the advantage of tweaking the rules or tweaking the truth. And that's hard. Like, we've all felt that. I've felt that, right? In small things or big things, whether you're at work or at home, like, it's easy to protect yourself, this, that, or the other, by just tweaking things, trying to make them look better for you. But it's, do you want to be godly? Do you want to be respectable? Do you want to be embarrassed but healthy? Do you want to be maybe a little ashamed because of a mistake or something that you made, yet at the same time in the clear and living truthfully? Then just be honest and be in fear of God and not in fear of man, and desire above all for the truth to come out.
Yeah.
And be okay with that and trust God enough that he'll take care of you when you live by the truth.
Yeah. That should be the goal. Like what we're saying, like, because this is a heavy topic. This is a big thing as far as the defamation possibility. Like, we don't know what's truthful and what's not. So like, we're not saying this is easy from a worldly perspective to just like, to not make this a public ordeal as far as like on Stone's end. But how much more could God use you if you earnestly are seeking the truth to come out, if you are, going about this in the means that God has laid out. And, ultimately, if the truth is revealed, then your character and all that can shine through in that light as well. And God can redeem that situation. So.
Yep. Well, I don't know. I think we did it, huh?
I think we did it. Yeah.
I think we did all right. I don't know. I'll assume that Jeremy just dropped out of the chat though, like right there.
We lost him.
His internet died. He just texted and said internet died. And
man.
Yeah, man, that's because I don't know. Somebody cut his internet. Maybe didn't pay his bill.
Yeah, we had to do this from remote, so hopefully we're back together next time.
Yeah, part of that birthday gauntlet we're rocking through. It's busy times.
It's tough.
Recommendation. I've got one, which is a band, different band than I would normally recommend, which is called Green Sky Bluegrass is the name of the band. So they're bluegrass music, and it's really good. So
I have to check them out.
If you like, I don't know, folk music or bluegrass music, if you want to like, I don't know, squeeze the last feelings to me, it's very summery. So if you want to squeeze the last feelings of summer, before, we head into the winter times, then Green
tomorrow
Sky
when it's 45 and rainy.
Tomorrow when it's 45 and rainy. It's Green Sky Bluegrass is good stuff. So there you go. There's your recommendation. Another run is don't sue another Christian.
Yeah. Yes. Or like, I was like, or you should basically go, begin by, following biblical authority first and foremost, and go down the avenues that Christ has laid out. So let's
just start there, Let's just go down the avenues that Christ has laid out. That seems like a good place to start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for the third brother who's not here because his internet just died on him, I guess we'll sign off. We did an all right job, and hopefully nobody sues us. And I don't think
don't sue us.
Hopefully nobody sued us, even if we said something stupid.
Not that we really have anything, but
good luck suing us because we don't have anything. But also, it's really, I don't know, it probably was kind of messy because it's really hard to, I don't know, this does make me really upset just because of these are the kind of things that I feel like could really disrupt and harm the convention as a whole. Like the convention is huge. It's massive. It does so much good. But these things and how they compound with everything else going on.
Yeah.
It's like, man, we could really, that makes me sad and angry. So it is hard to talk about without being a little emotional about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Let's get it together. How about that?
Yeah.
Men act like men, be honest, be direct, and speak the truth. Let's do that.
And strive. Yeah. It was like strive to be godly, however we can. Yeah.
Yeah. And that starts with us at home. So let's not get too mad at our leaders in the SBC or in the church if you and I are struggling to be honest and full of integrity in our dealings every day. So let's start it at home and let it roll from there. All right. We've said enough. We said more than enough, probably. And we'll be out of here. So next time, episode 70. It'll be a lot of fun, I think.
Ooh, monumental episode.
Monumental episode.
I feel it.
I can feel it already. It's feeling great already.
Spain,
Hopefully,
we're coming for you.
Hopefully we won't be talking about any lawsuits or about the SBC in the next episode.
Yep.
We'll see. No promises.
All right, man.
Well, then until next time, that's it.
See you next time.